Welcome into the fifth edition of the Roll Jays podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Jimmy Allen, Alex Drake, who correctly typed his name this week. We appreciate his contribution there.
I had it right last week.
It was Drake. You had your Twitter handle. Or was that 2 weeks ago?
That was 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay, man. My life is a blur. I just got back from vacation. Me and my lovely wife just got back from our honeymoon in Las Vegas. Nothing but problems with our travel. Jalen Courtney-Williams, who is in Dallas right now, will join us. We'll see if he's still having issues, courtesy of one American Airlines like I did. But before we get there, Alex, we're in the middle of June. It's College World Series week in Omaha, and the Jays have been working in the Ruth and at practice. Is there anything in particular you would like to see this team improve on from last year? And what do you think we might see differently out of this group of guys versus what we saw a year ago?
Well, for me, the biggest thing that I want to see, I guess there's two for me, truthfully. One, I want to see better offensive rebound. And we've actually heard Murph kind of talk about that in regards to Baylor Shireman specifically, and seeing if they can find a way to get him more involved on the glass on that end. But I think that's got to be a team effort. But the other thing that I really want to see is, and it was hit and miss last year, is just sustained tempo. If we're going to play fast, I want to play fast, 90% of the time. If that's the goal. It seemed like last year at times we would run just to run, and then it'd take us another 10 seconds to get into a set. And especially early on, it just seemed like the ball movement wasn't there to match the pace getting down the floor.
The one thing I want to see this team improve on is the hesitancy underneath the basket. We've seen this team get into the paint so many times last year just to pivot out or dribble out and be able to kind of create offense outside of the three-point line. That didn't seem like that was by design. It just kind of seemed like there was a couple guys that didn't necessarily feel comfortable dribbling in, maybe because of size issues or injuries or whatever it may be. And obviously when you have a guy as big as Ryan Kalkbrenner, or in some cases Fred King, it's kind of hard to deal with the limited bit of space that you may have under the basket, and that seemed to be an issue last year. I want to see that be a little more smooth and fluent this year. And for me, I think when you have it, like we all have to wait until October gets here and see it for our own eyes. But we've heard so many positive things about Isaac Trout that I think having a little bit of a presence in the corner and out on the wings and maybe a more consistent shot from the 3-point line may help this team do that and clear up space under the paint. And I think if that is the case, we're going to see more rim runs for Ryan Kalkbrenner, and that naturally create more offense for the Jays in that sense. And if that's the case, I mean, I know we've talked about it and talked about expectations for this team, but it feels like as good as that offense was last year, it has the ability to be better this year. And to your point, if the offensive rebounding comes along with it, outside of Baylor Shireman, it may raise the ceiling for a team that was literally 2.5 seconds away from Final Four berth not even 300 days ago.
Yeah, definitely. And we've also heard multiple coaches point this out where, not necessarily by design, but we weren't getting the type of shooters that we've been used to as Jays fans over the last 13 years, but also just the type of shooters that we need for the system. Part of it was Farabello maybe not having as much confidence last year, but they seem to have really gone out and added at least 2 very good shooters that should help improve the total offense. And that was kind of the problem at times last year. And, the last year before that was at times when the shooting died, what else happened? Yeah. Well, if you're more consistent shooters and you're more confident, does it ever really die? One guy can be off, but are all 5 going to be off? You don't know.
Speaking of a drop-off, obviously the most painful, obvious drop-off of the season was when Ryan Kalkbrenner went down due to the illness. If Fred King is going to be the heir apparent to Ryan Kalkbrenner, like we all expect him to be, from a big man standpoint, how many more minutes a game would you like to see him get? I mean, I don't think we're ever going to live in a world where it's 50-50, especially when you have a talent the level of Ryan Kalkbrenner, and he's not coming back to get less exposure. But Kalkbrenner played a ton of minutes last year. Do you think it should be a natural progression for Fred King to step into 10 to 12 to maybe even 15 minutes? Or is this something that this coaching staff needs to force and make sure that they get a young guy that doesn't have a ton of experience, even in a long haul? I mean, he's only been playing basketball for 6 years now. Is this something that should be forced by this coaching staff to make him be out there and learn on the fly, in your opinion?
It's a mixed bag answer. I know that sounds like I'm going Switzerland here, but Fred King has to
Way to
force
cop out.
their hand. No, Fred King
Good
has
point.
to force their hand, but at the same time, especially early on, they have to force it too. Like you have to show enough confidence, at least early on, that you trust him, but he has to go out and earn that trust and maintain it. In a perfect world, I would love to see Fred King in that 10 to 12 range consistently, occasionally in the 15 to 20 without it being a blowout, maybe
Right.
Kalkbrenner's in foul trouble. But I would even like to get to the point where the guys behind Fred King are, maybe 2 to 3 minutes a night sparingly, just so once Kalkbrenner's gone, you're not running into the exact same issue.
Yeah, I don't think it's just so rare. And I know you go out and get a guy like Justin Patton, who's legit 7'1". You got Ryan Kalkbrenner, who's pushing 7'1", and you've got some guys, and you've been able to recruit these guys somewhat consistently. But it's just thinking that's going to be a possibility every year. I don't think it's something you should hang your hat on as a coaching staff.
No, definitely. And I mean, Fred King's a big guy, but his style of play doesn't match up with Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Two completely different players, in my opinion.
Totally different players. Fred King gives you something different that, against a guy like Sanogo at UConn, maybe that's a game where he plays a little bit more because he can wear him down with his strength. Not that Kalkbrenner's not strong, but he doesn't play as physical as Fred King can and probably should.
Right. And Ryan Kalkbrenner just does such a good job of playing defense without fouling, maybe the best in the country at doing so. And sometimes that gets looked at as finesse, and it's just more of a stylistic thing. We've seen him play physical. It is a possibility.
Yeah.
It's just not his game. And some people may look at that as a weakness. I think that's a complete strong point. If you can be able to cause shot confusion and making guys get off of their spot without touching them and getting them to the foul line, to me, I don't think you can put a dollar value on that.
No, absolutely not. And I love that about Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Yeah.
But that's a spot where you do use a guy like Fred King. Tell him to go use 3 fouls on those big, powerful bigs that occasionally have some success against Kalkbrenner because they overpower him. And it is a style difference. But if you get Fred King in there and he uses 2 hard fouls and is just putting his body on him and wearing him down, that's just an added benefit for Kalkbrenner late in the game.
Yeah, and we'll see if that's something that needs to be a learned skill too. Obviously, you're talking about a guy from the Bahamas that hasn't played a ton of basketball and just may not have that concept down yet. And another year under a coaching staff that isn't afraid to play a little physical, even though sometimes incorrectly Creighton gets labeled as a finesse team that plays a little soft. I just think that this team has the ability to lean on a little bit of strength and maybe be a little more physical this year. When you look across the board with Isaac Trout 6'10", Fred King 6'11", Ryan Kalkbrenner 7 foot 7'1", Baylor Shireman and Jonathan Lawson and their different type of body styles. This is going to be a much bigger team from a physicality standpoint. And we didn't even mention Trey Alexander yet, who already had basically an NBA body when he walked through the doors in Omaha. It's going to be interesting to see how physical this team is going to be this year, because I think that's something that last year was kind of the Arthur Kaluma role. He's not coming back this season, so it's going to be interesting to see who kind of takes on that mantra.
Yeah, and I think another thing that kind of leads to that quote-unquote finesse style perception of Creighton is the way that they kind of play they funnel everything to Ryan Kalkbrenner, right? Yeah. Defensively. But they're a very sound defensive team. They're not a team that's going to get up and try and force countless turnovers. They're not going to press you. They're not going to give you the 40 minutes of hell. What they're going to do is they're going to stay solid. You're going to have trouble getting by them, and they're going to contest every shot. They're not what they're really looking to do is force you into shots that they want you to take, getting that rebound and running. They don't live and die by forcing 20 steals a game.
Right.
That's not the way they're built.
And nor do they need to for that point.
Right.
This is the Roll Jays podcast brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. We'll be right back with Creighton assistant coach Jalen Courtney-Williams here on the Roll Jays podcast.
Do you need a customized online marketing plan and creative campaigns to help scale your business and achieve goals in 2023? Pixel Fire Marketing can not only help you achieve those goals, but we will help you crush them this year. Pixel Fire Marketing lives and breathes digital marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing has experts in strategic content creation, social media marketing, and website development. Check out Pixel Fire Marketing today and attack marketing in 2023.
Welcome back into the Roll Jays podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. At this time, we're joined by Creighton assistant coach Jalen Courtney-Williams. Coach, out on the road doing your job in the middle of summer. How has your off season been, and what's the recruiting trail been like for you up until this point on June 23rd?
It's been fun, different this year. Be it the portal, and then we spent quite a bit of time supporting our guys that were in the draft combine as well, and I think that interfered in recruiting just a bit. And you go right from there to the summer stuff. So it's been different, but it's been fun.
We've seen the positivity from this coaching staff for the guys that have decided to throw their name in the transfer portal, and obviously the outgoing support for guys like Trey and Kalk, and even Baylor when he kind of about 8 seconds put his name out there and then came back right away. How much of a conversation does that happen amongst this coaching staff about, hey, whatever our guys decide to do, they're going to be Blue Jays for life, and we're going to support them in whatever they choose to do?
Yeah, absolutely. That's every day. That's common talk in the office, man. I mean, this what you do it for, right? Obviously everybody wants to win games and put yourself in the best position to do that. But at the end of the day, it's about the guys, right? It's about the guys that make sacrifices for each other to come in and day out and work and learn. And the ultimate goal for a lot of these guys is to play in the NBA. I know it was mine. And, I think it should be a part of the goal list for a lot of guys coming in. So, no, we support them 100%. And, I think they, all of those guys, including Baylor, would have had opportunities had they stayed in. But they decided there was some unfinished business. And then they could take more steps in terms of development.
Coach, from where you sit, do you kind of wish that the NBA would take more of like a Major League Baseball approach with the NCAA, or do you wish they would kind of push the draft earlier into the summer to not necessarily interfere with recruiting quite as much?
I like it the way it is. The deadlines can get a little tricky. Especially when, the NBA deadline doesn't necessarily match up with the portal deadline,
right,
etc. But when guys are ready, they should go, right? Whether that be, after a year, 2, 3, you never want to, force a kid to stay back. So I'm fine with the way it is. Just if I could choose, if I had my way, I would work on the deadlines a little bit, but hey, we'll roll with the punches.
You obviously have a little bit of experience with the transfer portal before it was called that. You started your career at LSU. You ended up at Morehead State. For you, I mean, does it help when you're having these conversations with players now, or is it so much different now that it's kind of apples to oranges in comparison?
Changed. I think then it was you had to sit out then,
right?
So you would go to places where you felt like you could develop a different skill set or whatever the case was, body and things like that. Now you can play right away. It's just it's still about finding the right fit, but it's different. It's different from when I did it. But I can definitely relate a bit.
That conversation,
by the way,
go ahead.
Hold on. I have to say, I'm a Blue Jay for life. I want everybody to know that, but go Tigers.
There you go. Okay. So there's a little bit of loyalty to the Bayou still, huh? Oh, that's right. They're about to play for
a lot of loyalty.
A
lot of loyalty. That's it's a great place and a lot of good people there, and I feel like that's where I grew up and became a man. So it's always cool to see them have success, especially in sports that aren't the one I'm competing in.
That's an interesting point that you just made about, that's where I became a man, because we even heard, during football season, a wide receiver from LSU transferred to Nebraska, and his position coach talked about him needing to mature when he came here. And I think that's what a lot of people, when the transfer portal is being discussed, is what people lose sight of. It is a lot of these times when players are making decisions to go to college, they're 15, 16, 17-year-old young men, they mature and they get a little bit older and maybe find out the place isn't right for them. Yes, a lot of them are getting some bad advice and maybe are still a little immature, but a lot of these guys are kind of getting a little bit more of life experience and deciding that. I mean, even the Stephen Ashworths of the world, he's a married man and he decided to enter the transfer portal and is in Omaha now. So I just think that a lot of this discussion about these young kids making these decisions, some of these guys aren't so young and have had a lot of life experience when they do choose to go elsewhere or the NBA draft.
Yeah, you know what? I was getting a call while you were talking a little bit, so I kind of missed some of what you said.
He's busy.
But in terms well, you know, just so they know, I'm out in Dallas. We're in the middle of a recruiting cycle. But no, in terms of guys like Stephen Ashworth and Baylor Shireman, right? They've gone through it, and they've had success at their respective spots. And in terms of looking for a new home, I think they took what they learned from where they come from, and they know exactly what they're looking for moving forward. You know, a guy like Stephen Ashworth, you know, he said it publicly where he watched us in the tournament, and he's like, you know what, I would love to be the point guard of a program like that.
That looks fun.
Yeah, exactly. So guys mature and they know exactly what they're looking for if they have an opportunity to make another decision. So you know, it's a different game and it's a different day. And obviously we've lost some guys to the portal, but we've also benefited with guys like Baylor, like Steven, like Jonathan Lawson, like Isaac Trout. So you know, and even, you know, you go back to Keyshawn Fizel and Ryan Hawkins and O'Connell, at least in my time here. So we're excited about where we are and the success we've been able to have.
Coach, you and Jimmy both kind of touched on you know, kind of growing up and maturing and then looking for that next spot. I'm old enough, and I know you're old enough to know or to remember when a lot of that was more done by going the junior college route. Are you seeing some of those guys that would have traditionally gone junior college maybe settling for a smaller 4-year school and still using the smaller 4-year as kind of the same route?
Yeah, it's trending that way, right? Guys are almost being incentivized to do things like that.
Right.
If you look at where it's trending, you know, guys will have success lower levels, and then they put their name in the transfer portal, and that's when all the NIL craziness comes about. So they're almost getting incentivized that way, opposed to, you know, 5 years ago it was all, you know, junior college or prep schools, things like that.
You mentioned NIL and you said now. I mean, it's not that far removed from when you were in a jersey. How much would a 2013, 2014 Jalen Courtney-Williams appreciated the NIL versus the coach that's sitting in Omaha, Nebraska in 2022, 2023?
It would have been a game changer. So I'm excited for these guys, man. They get to benefit the way they do. You're talking about some guys around the country that get opportunities to, you know, essentially change their lives,
right,
while still getting their education. They don't have to take certain risks that, you know, we had to take back in the day in terms of entering the draft, maybe, you know, a year or two too early, just to go get $50,000 from the developmental league or something like that. So, man, I'm excited. I just want the guys to use it the right way. You know, not necessarily abuse it, but take advantage of it in a healthy way. So, but I like where it's at.
The transfer portal isn't the only changes that you guys have seen. A little bit of change this year as well. Obviously, Alan Huss takes the head coaching job. You guys add Derek Kellogg to the staff. Yeah. How much, if any, is there any change, or is it kind of just still business as usual because the nucleus of this team and obviously the head coach are still all in place?
Yeah, well, the first thing I say is what Coach Mack has built here, and you know, everybody else involved. You know, over the course of 13 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's as strong as it's ever been. So when you lose a guy like Huss, who it was so important, and even, you know, as he's been gone, I'm finding out how important he actually, you know, was. But for Derek Kellogg to come in, I mean, it's a testament to Coach McDermott. He knows exactly what he wants and what fits and what doesn't. So it's kind of seamless transitions. And everybody involved makes this place a great place, and they help you find your way. And you don't feel like the new guy too long because of
We often talk about the new guys coming in as far as the players and their learning curve with whether it be the system or the drills or whatever it is. What's it like as the new coach coming in, though? What's their learning curve for how Mac runs the program?
Yeah, it can be tough in a sense of not a lot of people play the way we do.
Sure.
So a lot of times when you spend a lot of time in a different kind of system, it takes a minute to catch on and figure out why we do things the way we do and the terminology and things like that. But once you get it, man, it's fun and it's almost like the Matrix. Once you take I forget which pill it was. If you take
blue
the red
one.
pill, you'll never see. Yeah, you take the blue pill, you'll never see the game the same. Which has been my reality, and I think Coach Kellogg, obviously, he's had success at a ton of spots as a head coach and an assistant. But even you can see his wheels turning now as we're getting into practices and things like that. And it's a fun style to play, fun style to coach. And like I said, once you take the pill, you never see it the same.
And you know what's crazy about all of that to me, Coach, is Mac kind of flipped that system change on its head in an NIT tournament years ago. Like
That's
he
what I
used
heard.
to play slower. We had Gregory Echenike, and I don't remember. There was an article about it a few years ago. I don't remember exactly what made him decide to change it, but he did it in the middle of the tournament, and then the next year they stuck with it.
It became the Creighton system. Yeah.
The thing about Mac that people may or may not realize, I don't know, but he's always learning. He's always looking to evolve. He's always looking for whether it be a new drill or a new action or a new style. Like he's always looking to evolve what he's already done. And so it makes perfect sense that 12 years ago he found something that he thought he liked. He might have tinkered with it a little bit, and then he runs with it, and it's just continued to get better. That's because he's every day he's learning, man. Every day, it's pretty incredible to see.
I feel comfortable saying watches more film than any other head coach in the entire country. I feel very comfortable making that large of a statement.
I've been around some. I've even been I've been around some Hall of Fame caliber guys, and I tell you, man, Mac he's the most prepared that I've ever seen, and he's always studying, like I said, and a lot of it is just to grow, right? A lot of it is just to grow.
I can tell you as somebody who was in the film room, that's accurate.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. We talk about Alan Huss, and obviously before you got here, Steve Lutz went off to get a head coaching job. And we've talked about all the things that you've learned from Mac. We'd obviously love to have you in Omaha for a very long time. You've been here.
Yeah.
This going into your second season now. What's the ultimate goal for Jalen Courtney-Williams? What do you want all this to lead up to?
Yeah, well, no, I'm going into my third.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
It feels like I'm going into my 10th.
The cold weather in Omaha will age you, man.
Yeah, no question. No, but no, I definitely want to be a head coach at this level, and what better way to get there than surround yourself with guys that I'm around, right? Between a Coach McDermott, Al Huss, even Ryan Miller, and
right.
Now I got Derek Kellogg. I mean, come on, it's a joke. Right,
life's good these days.
And let's not forget, Coach Murfeld has one of the greatest NCAA tournament wins too.
Yeah, exactly. So you can go down the list, and I told somebody the other day, this is like school. I should pay. I probably don't want to say this because but seriously, like he's giving me a paycheck. I should pay him. You know what I mean? I'm learning so much every day, and he gives you the platform to grow and evolve. And no wonder he's had so many guys, going to be head coaches. It makes total sense.
In case Marcus Blossom's watching this, he was just kidding.
Yeah, absolutely, no question.
Coach, you're in Dallas as we're speaking to you, and this will drop on Tuesday. We're recording this on Friday. Have you had a chance to stop and get any good food while you've been down there?
You know what? As soon as I hit the ground, I've been working.
Okay.
But I'm a Southern kid, man. So I'll find my way to some good barbecue and things like that.
Hard 8 in Fort Worth. It's actually out in Capel. It's amazing. I'll give you a little bit of a
Hard 8.
Hard 8, like the dice Hard 8. Yeah, and craps.
Okay.
It's fantastic. There might be a little bit of a wait. It's worth it.
I'll try it. No, I'm in. Always down for some good grub.
When you get back to Omaha, how have practices and summer workouts been going? What do you think this team needs to improve on before the winter gets here?
We have a handful of new guys,
Yeah.
whether it be freshmen or transfer guys. So just continuing to see those guys pick up on what we do and how we do it and build chemistry and things like that. But I tell you what, one thing that's different this go around in the past 2 seasons, we do have a level of, consistency in our roster, carryover.
Right.
And you're starting to see those older guys really take ownership and leadership and attack what we do because they know what's going on and they've been through it. So, we essentially get old here really quickly, right? And I remember we were called the Baby Jays not too long ago. Now,
it's the gray hair Jays,
not quite babies anymore. Yeah. So
definitely battle tested.
I've seen steps taken in Baylor Shireman and Trey Alexander and Kalkbrenner and Farabello. Fred King is really coming along. Mason Miller's coming along. And then those new guys, man, they're all bringing stuff to the table too. And they really compete. They're eager to learn. So it's been really, really exciting.
You brought up the Baby J sentiment and talking about getting older. And just we've talked about Mac flipping philosophies on a dime here. Just a few years ago, we heard Mac talk about teams choosing to build through the draft or through free agency, meaning obviously high school recruiting or through the portal. And then it seems like that's kind of changed, just kind of reading the tea leaves from the outside looking in. Is that kind of the philosophy, or is it just a matter of, hey, we feel like we've got this window, we need to get older at this point, and then we can go back to high school recruiting if and when we need it?
No, if you think about it, we kind of naturally got older. Trey Alexander's in his 3rd year of college basketball now, entering this season, and he's played a ton of minutes. He's played in some really huge games. Ryan Kalkbrenner, same thing. So, Mason Miller is in his 3rd year now. Obviously second on the court, but
right.
he's not the 17, 18-year-old kid that he was when he walked in. Fred King now has got a year of experience under his belt. So when you think about it, we still want to do it organically, right? You want to have a healthy balance, which is why I'm out in Dallas now watching high school guys. And you want to be able to fill holes with the right pieces, which we've been able to do. Again, since I've been here, you date back to Ryan Hawkins and the Keyshawn Fizels of the world. Now Baylor and Steven and Jay Law. So you want to have a healthy balance, and Isaac Trout. You want to have a healthy balance of, draft versus free agency, so to speak, as Mac would say. And I think we're doing a really good job of keeping that balance really healthy, and allowing our people, our fans, to grow with guys as freshmen, and then our people have done a great job of embracing new guys, embracing those transfers as well. So right. I like how we're doing it.
Coach, you're out recruiting right now down in Dallas. What is kind of your type, your favorite type of event to go recruit at, where you get the best feel? Is it an exposure camp? Is it an AAU tournament? Is it team camp? So where do you feel like you get the best picture of a kid?
Man, you get something different from every spot, and it's all valuable information. Obviously, you get your bang for your buck at the shoe circuit tournaments, right, where the gym is, you're surrounded by talent.
And he really means bang for your buck. These things are expensive to get into.
Is there ever
true.
Is there an extra Nike bag laying around for the coaches that are there, anything like that?
I wish.
Yeah,
I wish, man.
I was hoping for
I
you.
tell you what, they have good hospitality rooms a lot of the time, so you get a good sandwich or something. They take care of you that way. But you want to see it in both settings. You want to see them play against the top talent in the country, and then you also want to see them play with their high school team, guys that they've grown up with. Guys that have known them forever. You want to see what kind of teammate they are with those kind of guys as well. It also helps. You think back to Josiah Dosler, right?
Sure.
We see him a ton locally, and what kind of player he is, and then you see him on the Nike circuit where his role was a little bit different, and it allows you to trust what because you've seen him so much with this high school. So, you want to do both. You want to spend as much time as possible in both settings.
That's Creighton assistant coach Jalen Courtney-Williams. Coach, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for getting with us while you're busy, and hope all things with Lachey and the kids are going well. We'll catch up with you in a few weeks.
Lashaya.
I'm sorry, Lashaya. I hope Lashaya is doing well.
Yeah, no, she'd have a hard time if I didn't correct you. So
okay.
I was just gonna give you props, good man, correcting.
Miss Courtney-Williams, I apologize, Lashaya. I hope you're doing well. Thanks, Coach.
No, she's great. You guys know we have a 2-month-old now.
Oh wow! Congratulations on that as well.
Congrats, yeah.
That's number 2 for you guys, right?
Number three.
Okay.
Number 3. And shout out to John McHugh and Maggie McHugh. They had their daughter the day before we had ours. So
wow,
we got a couple of newborns in the crew.
There's a couple new baby Blue Jays going around now.
Yeah, the real baby Jays.
Baby Jays.
Jalen Courtney-Williams, thank you very much. Safe travel, sir. We'll catch up with you in a few weeks.
Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome.
Appreciate it.